I never thought I'd find myself in a situation like this, honestly. My name's Mike, and I've been married to Lisa for about 5 years now. We met when I was in college, both of us into gaming and sports, and honestly, I thought we had a pretty solid relationship. She's always been a little bitchy, quick to throw a tantrum, quick to lie when she gets caught in something. But I loved her, or at least I thought I did. Things started feeling off about 3 months ago. She'd come home late more often than usual, claiming she was working late or hanging out with her friends. I'd ask questions, and she'd always dismiss it with some smart-ass comment like, "Relax, Mike. I'm not cheating on you, Jesus." That should have been red flag number one, but I brushed it off because who wants to believe the person they're married to is cheating on them? I mean, I knew she'd flirt with other guys sometimes, especially when we went out, but I never thought she'd actually cheat. Then last weekend, I was at a gaming tournament. It's a big deal for me. I've been doing esports for years, and I finally qualified for this official event, live streamed and everything. I was dead focused, sweating through my hoodie when I saw her. Or more specifically, I saw her in a restricted area, a place she shouldn't have been. It was near the backstage where the players were getting ready, and I caught her on the official cameras with some guy. And not just any guy, I recognized him immediately as Marcus, the captain of my team. That guy's a notorious player, and he's always been a little too flirty, but I never thought Lisa would go for it. The moment I saw her lips on his neck, I froze. My stomach dropped. It was like everything slowed down and all I could see was her, pressed against him, acting like they were in their own world while the cameras kept rolling. I couldn't believe it. I kept staring, waiting for some kind of explanation, but nothing made sense. She looked so damn comfortable, like she belonged there with him. I felt my hands trembling, my heart pounding so loud I thought everyone in the arena could hear it. I didn't want to believe what I saw, but it was right there on the screen, her hands on his chest, his hands on her waist. I didn't even know how to approach her afterward. I waited until the tournament was over, then I waited outside her hotel room just to see if she'd come out. Sure enough, she did, looking frustrated, like she'd been caught cheating on me with some other guy. When she finally saw me, her face twisted into this nasty sneer. "What are you doing here, Mike? Can't you see I'm busy?" She snapped, acting like I was the last thing on her mind. I couldn't say a word at first. I was so angry, so betrayed, I just stared. My fists clenched as she kept talking, denying everything, calling me paranoid, accusing me of spying on her. She lied, of course. Said she was just hanging out with her friends, that she didn't know what I was talking about, and that I was crazy for thinking she'd cheat. But the proof was there, the footage, the feeling that I'd been played for a fool. I mean, how could she sit there and lie to my face? Knowing I'd seen her in that moment in that restricted area with Marcus. That's when I knew I had to do something. I couldn't just brush it off and pretend everything was okay. I felt a mix of heartbreak and rage. This wasn't just about her cheating. It was about her lying, her sneering at me like I was nothing. I'd been loyal, good to her, and she was out there screwing around with my own team captain at an official event. It was so humiliating. I hated the idea of her making a fool out of me, right in front of everyone, and then lying to my face about it. I wondered how long she'd been doing this, how many lies I'd believed, how much of our life together was just a sham. I needed time to think, but I also knew I had to confront her again, this time with everything on the table. I couldn't just walk away without knowing what she really thought. I was shattered, but I was also determined to find out whether this was just a one-time thing or if she'd been sneaking around behind my back for months. The worst part, I felt stupid for not seeing it sooner. I was blindsided, and now I was left to pick up the pieces of this mess. After that night, everything felt like a blur. I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat. My mind kept replaying that footage over and over, her lips pressed against Marcus's neck, her hands on him like they belonged there, like she didn't even care if I saw. I kept asking myself how she could do this, how someone I trusted so much could betray me so blatantly in front of everyone in a public setting. It was humiliating, the kind of hurt that makes your stomach knot up and your chest ache like you've been punched. The next day, I decided I had to confront her again. I didn't want to do it in anger, but I knew I couldn't let her keep lying. I waited until she got back home, and I was already packing in the living room when she walked in, looking like she'd just been for a walk of shame. She saw me and immediately started with her usual attitude, dismissive, sarcastic, bitchy. "Oh, you're here. What, are you stalking me now?" I didn't bother to hide my anger. I just looked at her and said, "Lisa, I saw the footage. I saw you in the restricted area with Marcus. How long has this been going on?" She scoffed, rolling her eyes. "Are you serious? You're crazy, Mike. You're jumping to conclusions. It's not what you think." Her voice was thick with lies, her face twisting into that familiar sneer she always used when she thought she could manipulate me. She kept insisting that I had misunderstood, that maybe I was seeing things. But I knew better. I had seen it with my own eyes, and nothing she said could change that. When I pressed her further, she got defensive, almost angry. "You're just jealous because I'm a woman who knows how to have fun. Marcus is just a friend, okay? We're not doing anything. You're overreacting because you're insecure." I couldn't believe how easily she lied, how she turned it around like I was the one at fault. That's always been her game: lie, deny, shift blame. She's good at it too. She'd been doing it for years, but this time I wasn't buying it. I felt this surge of rage and sadness all at once. It was like a tidal wave crashing over me. I wanted to shake her, scream at her, tell her I saw everything. But I held back, just stared at her, feeling like I'd been punched in the gut. I realized then that she didn't even care about the damage she'd done. She was so used to manipulating her way out of trouble that she thought she could spin her way out of this too. But I wasn't buying it anymore. We argued for about an hour or maybe more. I don't even remember. She kept lying, saying I was paranoid, that I was imagining things, that she hadn't done anything wrong. She called me insecure, stupid, a fool for not trusting her. I felt like my heart was breaking with every word. It was like she was trying to convince herself as much as me that her cheating was nothing serious. She kept insisting she was innocent, that I was just jealous because she's so much better than those pathetic guys I hang out with. Honestly, hearing her say that made me so mad I almost lost it. I wanted to yell at her, tell her how much I hated her, how much she'd screwed us both over. But I stayed quiet, simmering in my own rage, feeling like I was drowning in betrayal. I knew then that I couldn't trust her anymore. She lied so effortlessly, so convincingly, I almost wondered if I'd ever really known who she was. What hurt the most was that she kept denying the obvious, like she thought she could *T her way out of it. And part of me wondered if she even felt guilty, or if she was just pretending to care because she knew I'd found out. That was the moment I decided I needed to figure out my next move. Because if she was capable of doing this to me, what else was she capable of? How deep did this lie go? How long had she been cheating? I was angry, devastated, and honestly, feeling pretty damn stupid for ever trusting her. I just kept thinking about that footage, about how she looked when she was caught, so smug, so dismissive. It was like she didn't even realize how much she'd betrayed me. And I knew one thing for sure: this wasn't going to be fixed with a simple apology or some lame excuse. I'd never be able to see her the same way again, and I couldn't decide whether I wanted to forgive her or just burn everything down and walk away. It was a mess, and I was stuck in the middle of it. After the confrontation, I felt like I'd been hit by a train. My mind was racing, trying to process everything I'd just heard and seen. The image of her with Marcus kept flashing in my head, her lips on his neck, her hands on him like she was desperate for some kind of escape from her own life. I couldn't believe I missed all the signs, that I'd been blind to how she really felt. The pain was sharp, a gnawing ache deep in my chest that refused to go away. I tried to talk to some friends about it, but most of the time their reactions were the same. They told me to consider whether she was worth it, to think about forgiving her and moving on. But honestly, I couldn't think about anything else. I kept going back to that footage, replaying it in my head, wondering how I could have missed all the signs, how she managed to keep her lies going so smoothly. In the days that followed, I made a decision. I had to see her again, one last time, to get answers, to hear her say it straight. I didn't want her to keep lying, thinking she could manipulate her way out of this. I needed her to understand how much she'd hurt me, how much she'd shattered the trust that held us together. I knew deep down that no matter what she said or did, things would never be the same. But I had to confront her, face her lies, and get to the truth. So I waited until she was out. I planned to catch her off guard. I knew she'd be at her friend's house, pretending to be the innocent victim once again. When I saw her car pull up, I took a deep breath and followed behind, just to see where she'd go. She walked into a little coffee shop downtown, not unusual, but it was the first time I followed her without her knowing. I sat in my car, watching her through the window. She met a guy there, a slim, tall guy with glasses, and I immediately recognized him from some social media post she'd shown me once. My stomach twisted. That was probably her friend, or whatever she claimed he was. But I knew better. She'd been sneaking behind my back for months, and this was just another piece of the puzzle. Watching her laugh with him, flirt, and brush her hand against his arm made my blood boil. I felt like I was watching some soap opera, except this was real. This was my life, and I was helplessly watching her betray me again. I didn't want to blow my cover, so I just sat there, feeling a mix of anger, heartbreak, and a strange sense of numbness. I kept thinking, how had I let it get this far? Was I really just a fool for staying? The worst part was knowing she'd probably lie her way out of it again if I confronted her, so I decided I'd gather more evidence. I pulled out my phone and started recording. I figured if she was going to lie, I'd make sure I had proof. I did. Care about her excuses anymore. I just wanted to catch her in the act and have everything out in the open. When she finally left with that guy, I followed at a distance, feeling like I was in some bad spy movie. She went straight back to her place, and I parked around the corner, heart pounding. I sat in my car for what felt like forever, trying to decide what to do next. I felt utterly betrayed, humiliated, and so damn angry I could scream. I'd always thought I was the one who was loyal, who took care of her and our life together. But she'd been sneaking around, lying to my face, and now I was left to pick up the pieces of a relationship that felt broken beyond repair. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about every moment we'd shared, every laugh, every quiet night at home, and how all of it was just a lie. I wondered if she ever really loved me or if I'd been just another chapter in her game. I kept replaying the footage, the conversations, her sneers, her lies, and I realized that I couldn't keep pretending like none of this had happened. It was too much, too raw. I was hurt worse than I'd ever been in my life. I felt like I'd been played for a fool, and now I didn't know if I could ever trust her again. The thought of staying, of trying to fix this, seemed like a joke, but at the same time I was terrified of losing her completely. I didn't know if I was just holding on to the hope that maybe, just maybe, I could fix her, or if I was just scared of being alone. The days that followed were a haze. Every time I saw her, I felt like I was walking on broken glass. Her face, her voice, everything about her now seemed contaminated by that betrayal. I'd catch myself staring, analyzing, trying to find some sign that she was truly remorseful or that she still cared. But honestly, she just acted bitchy all the time, like I was the one overreacting, like I was the one invading her space. She kept lying, calling me paranoid for even suspecting her. One night, I finally decided I couldn't take it anymore. I sat her down and told her I knew everything about Marcus, about her sneaking around, about the guy at the coffee shop. Her reaction: she rolled her eyes and crossed her arms, shrugging like I was just some clueless idiot who didn't understand her. She called me insecure, again, and added, "You're just jealous you can't keep up with me, Mike. Marcus is just some guy I hang out with sometimes. You're overreacting because you're a jealous little man who can't handle a real woman." That word, jealous, hit me like a slap. I realized how much she'd been gaslighting me, how she'd turned my heartbreak into some petty insecurity she could dismiss. But I wasn't about to let her get away with it. I told her I was done playing her game, that I was tired of her lies, tired of feeling like I was going crazy. I told her I wanted a divorce, that I couldn't stay with someone who disrespected me so openly, who treated our marriage like some game for her to win or lose. She looked at me with that bitchy sneer, and then she started crying, fake tears I knew. The kind women use when they're trying to manipulate someone into feeling sorry for them. You're just mad because I don't want to be stuck with some controlling, jealous man, she whined. You don't understand how hard it is for me. Marcus makes me feel alive. I don't want to be with a boring loser like you anymore. That was the last straw. I felt a mix of rage and sadness boiling inside me. I realized her lies weren't going to stop, and that she was more committed to her game than to any real relationship. I knew I had to get out no matter how much it hurt. I packed my things, told her I was done, that I was leaving for good. She screamed, called me a loser, said I was making a huge mistake, but I didn't care. I just wanted to get away from her toxicity, from the pain she caused me. The night I moved out was one of the worst nights of my life. I felt empty, hollow, like half of me was gone. I kept thinking about how she'd lied, how she'd betrayed everything we built. I kept replaying that footage, her sneer, her dismissiveness. I realized that I'd been holding on to the hope that she'd change, that she'd see what she'd lost. But she didn't even care. She was just mad I found out, mad I ruined her game. I don't know if I'll ever truly get over this. The trust is shattered, and I've learned some hard lessons about loyalty, betrayal, and the kinds of people who hide behind facades. I keep asking myself why I never saw her for what she was, why I let her get away with so much. But I guess I was blinded by love, or maybe just too scared to face the truth. Whatever it was, I know now I'll never let someone do this to me again. I just wish I'd seen it sooner before she could tear my life apart. The aftermath hit me harder than I expected. Moving out, I thought I'd feel relief, like I was finally free from the constant lies and bullshit. But instead, I felt hollow, empty. Every place I went, every moment I had alone, all I could think about was her. The way she lied so effortlessly, the way she sneered when I confronted her like I was nothing. It wasn't just the betrayal. It was the way she made me feel like I was the problem, like I was just some insecure idiot for catching her in her lies. For weeks, I stayed in my apartment trying to piece myself back together. Friends told me I deserved better, that I should just forget her and move on. But it was easier said than done. I kept going over everything in my head, how she snuck around with Marcus, how she lied so convincingly, how she dismissed my feelings like they didn't matter. It made me furious, furious at her, furious at myself for ever trusting her. I started to realize that I'd been a fool for so long, giving her the benefit of the doubt, thinking she was just a little bitchy but loyal underneath. Turns out, she was just a master manipulator, a liar who used her charm to keep me hooked while she played her little game. The worst part, I honestly think she thought she could get away with it forever, that she could lie her way out of the mess she'd made. It made me sick to my stomach. One day I decided I had to do something, not just to move on, but to really get closure. I started digging into her phone, her social media, anything I could find. I knew it was wrong, but I needed proof that she was still playing her game even after I left. And sure enough, I found more messages with Marcus, texts full of flirtation, emojis, and plans to meet up again. I was devastated. The betrayal wasn't over, it was just hidden behind her lies. That night I sat in my apartment holding those messages in my hand, feeling like I'd been hit with a ton of bricks. The woman I loved, the woman I married, she was out there sneaking around, lying, cheating, making a fool of me. And I couldn't do anything about it except that I'd been played. I decided I had to cut her out of my life completely. No contact, no explanation, nothing. Just erase her from my mind and move forward. It wasn't easy. Some nights I'd lie awake, replaying everything, wondering if I could have done more, been better, seen the signs sooner. But I knew deep down it was her, her lies, her manipulations that had destroyed what little trust I had left. I told myself I'd never let anyone do this to me again. I'd learn from my mistakes, but I'd also stop blaming myself. It was her, not me. She was the one who chose to cheat, to lie, to sneer at the marriage we once had. Time helped a little. The pain dulled at some point, and I started focusing on myself. I got back into gaming, started going out more, reconnecting with friends. I didn't want to be the guy who got crushed by one betrayal, but I also knew I couldn't pretend it didn't hurt. It would take time, maybe a long time, to fully move past this. But I was determined to rebuild my life, to find someone who wouldn't hurt me like that. Someone who valued loyalty, honesty, and respect, qualities Lisa never really had. Looking back now, I realize I learned a lot. Mainly that you can't trust everyone, even those you think are closest to you. That some people wear masks so well, you don't see the betrayal coming until it's too late, and that the only person responsible for your happiness is yourself. I also wish I'd had the strength to leave earlier to see the warning signs before everything blew up in my face. But hey, lesson learned. Now I know what to look for, and I won't let anyone, especially a sneaky bitch like Lisa, get that close again. Now, I won't pretend I'm completely healed. Some nights, the weight of everything still presses down on me. I catch myself wondering if I was naive, if I missed signs, if I should have fought harder to save what we had. But those thoughts are mixed with a brutal clarity now. I know I was blind for too long. I let her manipulate me, let her lie her way into my life and take everything away with her selfishness. I've come to realize that betrayal cuts deeper than most wounds. It's not just the act of cheating, it's the erosion of trust, the feeling of being played like a fool. I used to think I knew her, that she was the girl I fell in love with. But now I see her for what she really was. A selfish, manipulative person who valued her own pleasure and lies more than honesty or loyalty. What I truly learned is that no matter how much you love someone, or how much you want to believe in the best of them, sometimes the truth is better than a lie. That it's okay to walk away from someone who treats you like a pawn in their game. That I deserve someone who respects me enough to be honest, not someone who sneers and dismisses my feelings like they're nothing. I want to tell anyone reading this who might be going through something similar: trust your instincts. Don't ignore the signs. Late nights, secretive behavior, dismissiveness, lies. Because when someone truly cares, they don't need to hide it behind backstabbing and lies. And if you catch someone cheating or betraying you, remember that you don't have to accept it. You don't owe anyone your happiness or your trust if they're just going to throw it away. It's better to walk away and find someone who values you for who you are, not for what you can provide or how much they can lie to you. I still miss what we had, sometimes painfully so, but I'm learning to accept that it's better to be alone than in a relationship built on lies. I've started focusing on myself, on rebuilding my confidence and my sense of worth. I'm not where I want to be yet, but I know I'll get there. And one day I hope to find someone who's honest, loyal, and worth my time. Someone who won't sneak around, who won't lie, who will respect me enough to tell the truth, no matter how ugly it might be. For now, I'll just keep moving forward. I'll take the lessons I've learned and use them to build a better, stronger version of myself. Because if I've learned anything, it's that even the deepest betrayals can be a source of growth, if you let them. And I'm done letting her or anyone else treat me like I'm nothing. I am enough, and I deserve better.